Can West Ham keep the points flowing and pick something up at home to Aston Villa on Sunday? That is what we are here to discuss. The main match preview for West Ham United versus Aston Villa. The away side have won all of their last 8 games as they make their trip to the London Stadium. So, really, is it legitimate for us to be expecting 3 points on Sunday? They don't have a good record at the London Stadium apart from last year's infamous John Duran incident that saw Villa beat us by 2 goals to 1 at the start of the season. But there's been a lot of change since then. Aston Villa have been through a rocky patch, as we found out speaking to Josh earlier on, and they've now well and truly been through that, and they find themselves looking rather rosy in the Premier League, in occupying one of those Champions League spots with an 8-game winning run. Fair play to them. They're a really good side, aren't they? And we've got our work cut out for us on Sunday. We've just constantly tried to pick up points, apart from that Liverpool game, if you put it aside. We picked up points in all of Newcastle, Burnley, Bournemouth, Man United, and Brighton. So there's a big bundle of difficult games there, which we've at least picked a point up from, and a couple we have won at home as well. This game, of course, has extra elements to it because of the tragic death of Billy Bonds that happened last week. So there is full-scale tributes that are going to be underway at about just before 1:45. There's going to be a big tifo, and there's going to be all sorts going on to try and remember. And of course, we will remember a legend of the club. So that should increase the atmosphere and increase the sort of real atmosphere inside the London Stadium. Let's unite together. Let's get to a point where we can get Billy Bonds' Clantonbury Army ringing around the London Stadium. It was a pretty pathetic effort at the Liverpool game, but at both away games since, there's been a real unity amongst the away contingent to remember a legend. The biggest stand at the London Stadium is named after him, and we need to remember him and remember him right on Sunday. And I'm sure that we will do that. So there's extra layers to the game on top of that. Of course, there's Paqueta as well, who basically and literally, with his celebration afterwards, put the phone down on Aston Villa in the summer on a pretty dramatic final few days of the transfer window. It seemed as if he was nailed on to make the move to the Midlands, but in the end, he didn't. And then he scored in that game against Nottingham Forest and put the phone down and said, I'm staying here. Lucas Paqueta always a player that will turn up in an occasion when people start to doubt him. He always has this weird and uncanny knack of bouncing back. Will he do the same again on Sunday? I thought he was better and more positive last weekend on the South Coast at the Amex, a game that in reality I was thinking he's not going to turn up for. It was raining, it was wet, it was windy, it was horrible. Paqueta could have easily went, nah, sod this, and cruised through, but I thought he had a real positive impact on the game, and we need him to have that and be that sort of beacon of light in midfield once again. Look, a lot has got to go our way in this game for us to win or even get a point. And it was interesting speaking to Josh earlier. He would have taken the point potentially. He said that's being a little bit negative from an Aston Villa point of view. They don't have a great record at the London Stadium. We could try and get the crowd up. And listen, the first goal is massive. That is, that goes without saying. In a game where Unai Emery is going to try and come at us and try and really put us on the back foot, we are going to sit back and try and frustrate them, as we did with Brighton, as we did with Manchester United, and we failed it against Liverpool pretty dreadfully. But in those games, we have been really positive at frustrating teams, being hard to beat, being hard to break down, and it's the complete blueprint which got Nuno success at Nottingham Forest over the last 18 months or so before that all fell apart by the wayside. So we know what Nuno's going to do. It's a home game, yes, and it's a game where we're coming into it with a little bit of confidence, but he's still going to have the handbrake on. He's still going to try and get them on the counter attack, because if we try and out football Aston Villa, then we're going to get out footballed ourselves and probably have a few shipped past us, because they are a better footballing team. The table tells you everything you need to know in that sense. And yes, the table hasn't settled down yet this season, and there's a lot of bizarre, team positions and placements in the league table at the moment, but Aston Villa are where they are after an incredibly tough start to the season. They were goalless in their first 5 games, for goodness sake, and now they're occupying a Champions League spot. 8 wins in a row in Europe and in the league. On both fronts, they're playing well. They beat the league leaders Arsenal last weekend and narrowed the gap, and have even tried to put themselves into a title race. And if they keep winning games, then they're going to start being in that conversation. And at the end of the day, we've just got to try and hold the fort tight and defensively try and hold it, because we have been better defensively. I was very critical at the start of the season because we were weak defensively. We were really stagnant and all over the place. There's no doubt that Nuno was corrected us defensively, I think is the correct term. He's got us stability was his main sort of factor and goal at the start of his reign, and that's what he's got us to. Todibo looks a much better player than what he was at the start of the season under Potter. I mean, you could say that about most players, couldn't you? But at the end of the day, he's been a lot better, and we're about to lose 2 players to AFCON in Juve and Wan-Bissaka. That's going to be a massive loss for a month without those pivotal fullbacks, with the pace and the power and the precision and quality that they provide. We're going to miss Juve and Wan-Bissaka unreservedly. So we need to capitalise whilst we've got them, because I don't really know what we're going to do without them, to be honest. And I do hope Nuno's been thinking a little bit further ahead than I have, because it only came to my attention today that we're losing both Wan-Bissaka and Juve after this game, and who's going to fill in those spots? And it's all well and good finding someone to fill the spots, but are they going to have the quality that is needed? All right, Juve wasn't great against Man United, but he's been brilliant this season. He's got pace. He's put brilliant balls into the box. He's been a real outlet on that left-hand side. And Wan-Bissaka at Man United, by contrast, was excellent. Back to some of his amazing performances from last season. So they're 2 players that we're going to massively miss in a few games which are really tough. Villa, all right, they're playing this game. Then we've got City, Fulham, then we play Brighton again, bizarrely. And then we go into some really, I'm not going to say winnable games, because no game in the Premier League is winnable in a sense of it's tough every week. You then go into Wolves and Nottingham Forest in successive weeks. Now, without 2 of our important players there, all of a sudden you think Wolves, okay, they're down, but Nottingham Forest showing a bit of fight. Every point counts. If we can nick another point tomorrow, then on Sunday, then that'll be top notch. I mean, we'd all snap your hand off for a point, wouldn't you? There's sort of question marks over Callum Wilson. Is he going to be available for this game? I do hope so. Obviously, he's not going to play the full 90 minutes because I don't think the poor bloke can, and we are heavily relying on an ageing mid-30s striker to get us through in this situation. That's just where we are in a signing that everybody criticised, including myself. He is now the person we're relying on, believe it or not, and we can't expect him to play 90 minutes twice, 3 times a week, as he's tried to be presented to do over the last couple of weeks. And it's a heavily congested fixture schedule with 3 or 4 games over, the week and a half over the Christmas period. And I just hope that we don't crumble with injuries, because if you overplay Callum Wilson, he's going to pull up and get injured, and then we're without him for a month, 2 months maybe, and maybe he doesn't look as good when he comes back with less and reduced match sharpness and fitness. So we're on a slippery slope here as a team, because we are sort of short on numbers as it is. We're definitely short on quality outside of that starting 11. Some might say inside the starting 11 as well. But we've got a decent, okay, stable and steady 11, but then once you start uncovering what's below that, then it starts to look pretty bleak. And Nuno, with a rather rogue shout last week, put Rodriguez in. I think he was looking at insight of playing Thursday night, and Potts and Magassa, I mean, 2 young players you'd think could play another game 4 days later, but Nuno clearly deemed that wasn't the case, and Rodriguez was a passenger. So please, Nuno, let's learn from the mistakes and not have Rodriguez in midfield, get Magassa and Potts in there, depending on fitness of other players. You've got Paqueta and Fernandes to try and file in there as well, because you feel that they all probably deserve to start, but one's probably going to miss out, isn't it? Out of those four, Magassa, Potts, Fernandes, and Paqueta, is one going to play out wide, or is one going to miss out? There's obviously some team selection team questions that Nuno will answer when he puts that lineup out an hour and 15 minutes before kickoff on Sunday. But he must get it right, and we must set the tone early, in the sense of, all right, we've got to play the way we're going to play, but we have to do it constructively. We have to be positive when we get the ball on the counter attack. We can't be full on sit back for 95 minutes and just hope for the best. We need to be proactive in that low block, and when we get the ball, spray it out to Bowen and Somerville if he plays, and get the ball to Wilson and get somebody near him, and be positive when we get the ball and try and look really deadly on that counter attack. Because that's the aim of the game. That's the aim of what Nuno is essentially trying to achieve here. And he has got us stable, and he's massively introduced some stability into our team. But my main concern is where goals are coming from. And all of a sudden, if we get hit with a couple of injuries, we're in crisis mode. You look at some teams out there at the moment with 8, 9, 10 injuries. I'd argue that 3 injuries could probably collapse us. If one of, I'd say, Tadibo or Potts gets injured, or one of the defenders or one of the midfielders, and then either Wilson or Bowen gets injured, then we could collapse. So we are hanging on by a thread until the January transfer window. In a month that we've got 5 or 6 games, Nuno needs to manage his men well, and maybe we don't need to be so critical when he starts other players and gives players half an hour's off and 45 minutes off here and there, because Nuno is acutely aware of the situation whereby he hasn't got a lot else apart from that team. So it's a real tough conundrum to tackle and to juggle for Nuno, and he's it's going to test him without a doubt. And we've just got to, at the end of the day, just take one game at a time, try and run through it. And thinking of Sunday, we've got to take the game in little stages and try and get something out of Aston Villa, because they are a brilliant side, we know that, and they have profited heavily in the last couple of months in league and European competitions, but they don't have a good record at our place. I've spoken to a couple of Villa fans, and they're not overly confident. Of course, dropping points for them would be a disappointment, but I don't think it'd be a surprise for most of them, the sort of sense and tone that I'm getting from it. So at the end of the day, we could quite unsurprisingly nick a point on Sunday, and we'd all take it. 3 points would be brilliant. It would set us up really nicely with Man City, and then a couple of, I'm not going to say simpler, but maybe more straightforward games after Christmas. So yeah, absolutely. We've got to deal with these games as a free hit, but not to an extreme. Villa and City are free hits because no one's really expecting us to get anything, but we can't take our foot off the gas in that sense, because, all right, a point from one of them would be really good. And I think it's probably more likely to come at home in an occasion where the fans are united under a real tone of sadness after the passing of Billy Bonds. And we've got to try and use that and get that stadium reverberating around, singing the song, and really being up for the occasion, and putting Villa on the back foot, because that's what Billy would want. He wants to go out there and really stick it in them, and that's got to be Nuno's aim. That's got to be his team talk in that sense. And let's hope that we can be positive when we get the ball and move forward in a good and efficient way. Get the ball to Bowen, and I thought it was an excellent finish from Jarrod Bowen last week. I didn't quite realise from inside the ground, my view was slightly obscured of that corner. I didn't quite realise till I watched it back afterwards how tight of an angle and how much Bowen was off balance and sliding to put that ball into the corner at Brighton last week. That will do his confidence the world of good. I've been saying it for weeks, in the sense of Bowen will get a goal and it will get his confidence back, and I hope that rings true now, and he's a little bit more vibrant and buzzing around it, because he's been a little bit pedestrian in the last few weeks. But that moment of brilliance at the Amex last week hopefully should fire a spark up into Jarrod Bowen, of course, with people beginning to discuss friendlies for next season and the World Cup with tickets going on sale. So he will want to be on that plane, and the only way he's going to get on that plane is by scoring some goals and impacting games more than he currently is. So we've got to get Wilson and Bowen interlinking, whether it's Somerville or Paqueta on that left-hand side. We can't neglect it, and we've got to try and we've got to try and really target Villa, because we've got to score at the end of the day, to get something out of it. We're probably not going to keep a clean sheet. We have been better defensively, but I think it's pretty optimistic thinking to say we'll get a clean sheet. So we're gonna have to score, and at some point we're gonna have to come out and make sure we're clinical. Don't blunder chances. Don't be. We've got to be clinical in what we do. So yeah, a lot of things have got to go right in this game for West Ham. But having said that, Villa have injuries. There's question marks over Pau Torres, who Josh spoke about earlier, how important he is to their team. Emi Martinez might miss the game, and there's other injury concerns for Unai Emery out there. So it's not going to be full strength, but of course it's still going to be a very strong Aston Villa side. So we've got to be alert to that. And a really good performance gets us something from the game, I think. If we're poor, we'll lose. If we're decent, then I think we can get a point from it. I think that's a fair assumption. In terms of prediction, not entirely sure. Josh sat on the fence earlier. He had splinters in his backside, and he went for a 1-1 draw. And I feel more like I feel myself edging in a similar vein, but I'm going to stick my head above the parapet a little bit more. I'm gonna say 2-1. I'm going to be hesitant to say which way. I'm going to just hint West Ham. 2-1 West Ham is what I'm going with, to replicate what happened at our place last season. But of course, it was them who got all 3 points. So yeah, let's reverse that. 2-1, Paqueta to score in a similar vein to how Duran scored last season when we were just about to sign him. Let's give them a taste of their own medicine in that sense. Bowen with the first, Paqueta with the second. A really positive, promising performance. A Villa goal nestled in there somewhere, and a 2-1 victory to mark a momentous occasion to remember the life of a true West Ham legend in Billy Bonds. Right, let's take some of your comments. Graham says, why not? It's about time we stuffed them. It's about time we turned up in a really positive performance in that, in that way against them. So I agree. Let's hope that we can do it. Paqueta goal and booking bet combo is a pretty high chance of that. But yeah, I bet my bottom dollar that Paqueta will turn up. He always turns up in games that mean something that little bit more, or if he wants to bounce back in a situation or a narrative, he just finds a way. And I feel like Sunday again is one of those instances, in my opinion. Chelsea away is a tough game. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Did beat United with 10 Everton, have showed some real spirit under David Moyes. Of course, we know all too well about that man. So yeah, they've done well in adapting into a new stadium. It's been a real transitional season for Everton, and they've done excellently. Absolutely, Billy Bonds as Claret and Blue Army for sure. Frogging a well. Come on, you irons. Evening to you. Absolutely. So yeah, I'm going 2-1. And listen, my main message would be just to go out and back the game plan, because we know what it's going to be, and we are accepting of that now, of what Nuno is going to do. But we've got to be positive in the way that we do it, and we've got to look like we're going to be threatening when we do come forward. Right, fresh off the sleigh, he's made me talk myself for 19 minutes. Oh, good. Sam, how are you, mate? You're looking rather dark and rather festive, Sam.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Everything took a lot longer than we thought tonight, but yes, all good. Very cold, but all good.
Very cold indeed. Was it a positive night of preparation for you, Mr. Claw?
No, it was really good. We went through 5 different villages in South Wales tonight, and probably saw about 300 or 400 kids. So
Wow.
made lots of people's evenings, which is probably more than West Ham will do this Sunday. You see
I
that?
feel that just
You see that
sounds.
link there? Did you see that link?
I did see that link, and I've also just felt how cold that potentially was going through those South Wales villages on a December evening. I can feel your coldness from here.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't matter how thick that the Santa suit is. The hands were not no gloves on, so the hands are what are showing the cold tonight.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I was just wrapping it up actually, but but we will crack on. I've just sort of gone down the line of if we put in a really good performance, Sam, then we can get something from this game. We're going to get value for our performance. They're without a couple of players. They're looking good, Villa. But I've spoken to a couple of Villa fans, and they're not overly confident coming down to London on Sunday. So I think we're going to get profit from a good performance. But again, we've got to put in that good performance.
Yeah, I was with some Villa fans a few weeks ago, at the end of November, and they were playing in Europe, and when they played Young Boys, um, and Villa looked good, and they were worried about playing Wolves at the weekend. They're like, this is the sort of game that Villa lose, and they didn't. But I didn't think they looked particularly great against Wolves after a Thursday night fixture. Um, Obviously, they played really well against Arsenal last weekend, and I think they're the first team, certainly in the Premier League this year, to really work out Arsenal and not let
Yeah.
Arsenal play their game. And I think that bodes well for the Premier League season as a whole. But they don't look great after a Thursday night, particularly. They've had another trip. Okay, it was only a short one this week. I think if we're going to win, we're going to have to try and out stamina them and outpace them at times, and really sort of remind them that they're doing the whole Thursday Sunday thing that we're not.
Yeah.
And I hope that some of those decisions that we made last weekend around the selection that just seemed a little bit odd at the time might have been a little bit with this game in mind as well, that actually it's a game where we are going to have all the pace. We're going to have Somerville playing. We're going to have a striker up front that's got a bit of physical presence. We need Bowen actually like sort of out on the right and not playing in the centre. We need all those things to sort of be going for us. But I agree with you. I think it's possible we could get something out of the game if we play our game and we don't let them play their game.
Absolutely, and we've got to take it deep. I was speaking to Josh earlier, and we both agreed in the sense of the first goal is crucial. If Villa score in the first 20, then it's going to be a tough afternoon. It's going to be really challenging for West Ham, but we've got to frustrate them, and as Nuno has aimed to do and has successfully done at United away and at Brighton away in the last week or so, we've got to have the same mentality in the sense of the deeper we take the game, the tougher it's going to be for Villa. And then that's when we've got to be clinical and pounce when an opportunity comes our way. But we've got to have a foundation of defensive solidity in that first half and get through probably 0-0 and level, or even hopefully better, but get through the first half unscathed and then really try and profit.
Absolutely, and you might have spoken about this already. Apologies if you've already had. I think one of my worries, and we kind of saw it in the Brighton game. We lose the right back and the left back after this game for the African Cup of Nations. And I totally understand why he therefore wants to play another right back and a left back at times, because he needs to see what's working. He needs to get used to first team football. It's going to be the kids that are coming in, or at least a kid along with Carl Walker Peters. And I imagine that if we are up, we will make that same experiment again. And I don't think we can be angry with the manager for doing that. I think we'd be more angry if he hadn't tried anyone out at left back, and then suddenly we've got a kid playing 90 minutes. But we need to make sure we do that at a time where, firstly, Villa have already made their subs, because we know they've got players that can come on and are dangerous and have got pace. But secondly, when maybe if we are ahead, we've put the game to bed, because I think another 5 minutes against Brighton, we'd probably have been all right. But it was a player that never played first team football before. I didn't actually think he played too badly when he came on, but it
No, but I
just
mean, yeah, I mean,
the defense was just a bit like that.
yeah, I agree in the sense of I saw him come on, and it started to ring in the back of my head. I thought, right, okay, AFCON's coming up. I mean, I've been in a lot of away ends, but never quite seen so much bewilderment when he came on. People were like, what on earth is he doing? He's taking off Juve and he's bringing on this youngster. Everyone was turning around going, who the hell's that? Like, literally, they were like, who the hell's that? And we have got our backs against the wall. And it was a really tough and challenging period of play. And we brought him on, and I thought it was wrong. I thought it was probably the wrong call to make in that situation. I admire the thought and the desire and urge to try and bring him on, but it's a time and a place, and it certainly wasn't backs against the wall in that situation with minutes to go when we were clinging on, really. But I mean, he's made his point clear, and I mean, he spoke in the press conference looking ahead, and he mentioned Ollie Scholes straight away. Interesting that it wasn't Ollie Scholes that came on last Sunday, but he's the first and only player that he mentioned in response to a question regarding AFCON and who's going to play. He went, obviously, we've got Ollie. So he's going to play a part. And is it Sawyers that played Mayers? I think it's Mayers that came on last week
Mayers, I
at
think he brought on,
Brighton.
yeah.
Yeah, Mayers. So he's could be used, and that could have been an audition. And I agree. I don't think he was particularly bad. He didn't make any howlers, but I can't imagine it did him any good in that situation. So he's got to try and avoid that. And I spoke about it earlier in the sense of he's got to manage play as well. And especially in this game, we've got to, as you said, Sam, we've got to emphasise the fact they played Thursday and we haven't played since Sunday. We've got to use that to our advantage. And in midfield, try and frustrate him, tire him. It's got to be Potts, Magassa, and Fernandez, and Paqueta's got to go
Yeah.
somewhere. And we've got to bring Potts and Magassa back in. And if I'm stood next to you at whatever time it'll be on Sunday, and I see Rodriguez in that lineup, you didn't see me on Sunday, but my reaction wasn't too pleasant when I saw his name on the team sheet, and I really hope his name isn't there again.
I can imagine what your reaction was, and I wasn't at the ground, but mine was probably similar. I actually didn't think he played too badly. Probably one of his better West Ham performances, but yeah, it was an odd one. Obviously, we went for a different formation, a different style, and whatever. And okay, it wasn't until we then amended that we got the goal, but I didn't think he played too badly. But we certainly need Potts back in there. It needs to be Potts, Fernandez, and then you've got where's Magassa going to go? Where's Paquetá going to go? I thought Paquetá actually had a decent game as well. As ever, back against the wall, he brings out his best performances. But I I would imagine Magassa will probably be on the bench because I don't think there's 4 into 3 just don't go.
Yeah.
And I think he'll start Paquetá ahead of him, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It means we've got some legs to bring on in midfield. It does means that we aren't bringing on Guido Rodriguez or again we brought on is it Canate, the youngster as well that we brought on the other week who
Conte,
actually
yeah.
he plays all right actually when he came on as well.
Mm.
But yeah, at least we've got someone with some experience to come onto the pitch.
Absolutely, and the legs in that sense. And I mean, you can probably imagine my reaction when I saw Rodriguez. I'd literally, let me paint the picture. It was chucking it down the rain, and I just got in the ground. I scanned my ticket, and the lineup popped up. I won't say the first word I said, but I then said I need to go to the bar, and the bar is where I went. But and then I just stood there and thought, what on earth is he doing? As I began to drink my overpriced pint of inches after the woman checked my ID and then questioned her own mathematics in her head, which has happened quite a few times. She went, "You're not old enough." I went, "I am," and then she redid the maths in her head and realised that. Yeah, she was in fact in the wrong. So I almost said that's worth another pint on the house for questioning me loving it, but no, it didn't. Yeah, that didn't suffice. All joking aside, it's he's got to get that lineup right, and I think you're right in the sense of one of those midfield players is going to miss out. So the legs off the bench when Villa are weary and hopefully holding on in an ideal situation. Magassa is the ideal player to bring on. Guido Rodriguez isn't. So it could work in our favour in that sense. But yeah, it's a game that we can get something out of, but we've got to play it right. And I'm getting similar vibes to Liverpool. A couple of weeks ago. All right, Villa aren't as big of a club as Liverpool, and there's not as much media attention around Villa as there is Liverpool. Maybe there should be, but a team that okay, are good, but they can be got at. They can be got at, and that's what we've got to try and manipulate with injuries and playing Thursday and everything else that goes with it, as well as the fans being up for it with everything that's going to come before the game.
Yeah, and it's a massive day for the fans. I think that if Villa weren't doing Thursday night football, I'd be putting a tenner on them to win the Premier League this year. I think they've got. I think they've got a very good manager. I think they've probably got just about enough about them to be up there, but not with Thursday, Sunday football. we know what it does to squads. We've been there with West Ham. We've been there when we've been sort of third, fourth at Christmas. That sort of some of those years under Moyes, and then it dropped down because we didn't have that squad depth. But I think they're playing some really, really nice football. I think the fact they've got a few injuries suits us. I think the Thursday night game this week, and I think they've got another one next week as well, haven't they? It's not like they've got a break week. So I think that suits us. But and I think the fact there'll be so much going on before the game. So I really, again, I just hope he starts Potts. If he's sitting there going Magata or Potts to start Potts, get the fans going early doors, get that all continuing. He's a guy that's grown up with a dad who I think Steve Potts would have played under Billy Bonds, just about. So he's going to understand all of that. But yeah, Villa are a very good side. I'd say Villa are a better team at the moment than Liverpool are, albeit that Liverpool on paper are probably the best squad in Europe. I think Villa at the moment, it's just everything's clicking for them.
Absolutely, and we've got to try and find a way through that, and there is a route through, but we've got to tick the
I
boxes.
think they've
We've
won
got to do things.
8 on the bounce. I think I was reading this
8 on
week
the
in all
bounce,
competitions. Yeah.
yeah. So there's no doubt in their ability in that sense. But yeah, we will try and we'll try our best. And it seems like the club are planning some pretty substantial tributes for the legend that is Billy Bonds before the game. There's going to be a display at kickoff and tributes from just before 1:45 onwards. So they are encouraging people to wear claret and blue on Sunday and to get in their seats early, and let's try and get it bouncing in the London Stadium. Maybe what they should do is they should put the price of pints up to about £15, and everybody would go and sit in their seats because they've got nothing else to do, and get people in there and remembering the legend. And a big monumental day for the football club. And Sam, I'll ask you for a prediction for it. Bearing in mind, hang on, I've done 2-1 and Josh has done 1-1.
So who have you've gone 2-1 West Ham?
Yeah.
So neither of you have taken the score that I was going to take, which is good. And I still haven't predicted West Ham to lose, but I think we might, and I've been thinking all week 2-1 Villa. I do. I think they can be got at. I really hope that I'm wrong, but I as I say, they are my outside bet for the league at the moment. I think they're playing that well.
So Josh, the Villa fan, has predicted a draw, and Sam, the West Ham fan, has predicted a Villa win. Only right here on West Ham Unofficial. Now, I do understand. It's a very likely scoreline. And I literally said earlier 2-1, but I don't know which way, and I just went West Ham out of the hope.
If you'd said that you'd gone Villa, I would have gone 2-1 West Ham.
Yeah,
because you'd have taken my score and I'd have gone the other way.
It feels like a 2-1 game, doesn't it? It feels like it could be close, but a team could just clinch it. But there we are. It should be a good game. We are on Sky Sports Tennis on Sunday, if you want to watch it, because there are a lot of games on, so they've run out of channels. So if you tune into Sky Sports Tennis on Sunday afternoon, you're going to be disappointed if tennis is what you wanted, because it's going to be West Ham Villa. So we are live on the telly, and there are of course going to be the tributes to Billy Bonds. So a big afternoon. I very rarely buy a programme, but I think I will on Sunday, because it's dedicated to Billy Bonds, and they can quite happily have £4 of my money for that. And it's going to be hopefully a poignant day, capped off with a win, Sam.
Yeah, capped off with a win, and maybe you'll even get a little half and half scarf to remember the game as well.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but actually, to be fair, what are they going to do? Like, would like every bit of it be claret and blue? Like would it just all be claret and blue?
I don't know. We'll see, because despite the ban, let's face it, they'll all still be selling them.
We will see. So we will tell you on the vlog on Sunday whether the half and half scarf will just be one colour or whether they jazz it up.
I don't know what Villa's away kit is to know what they could put on the other side, but yeah.
No. I'm sure they'll work it out. Rest in peace, Billy Bonds. Absolutely, Dan. I hope you are well. I look forward to speaking to you in the new year. We play you the 7th of February, just before Valentine's Day, Dan. That'll be nice, won't it? I'll see you then. Spurs away. Yes, that's coming up as well. We've got Wolves away, Spurs away, Chelsea away, all in January. It's a busy January for West Ham in that sense. So, yeah, all good. All good. Let's focus on this and get through to Christmas. Sam's going to go home and warm the cockles of his heart up because he is very cold. Sam, I'll see you Sunday, and I'll see you all very soon right here on West Ham Unofficial. There will be matchday build-up on Sunday, maybe from outside the ground, depending on how cold it is, whether I want my hand to be cold holding a camera live or not. That will be dependent on that. Or there'll be some sort of video before the game on Sunday. There'll be the vlog and the reaction afterwards, and then I'm going to rush myself back to Wembley for the roundup show. So a busy day on Sunday right here on West Ham Unofficial. Don't forget my card. I won't. Sam, thank you very much. I will see you on Sunday.
See you on Sunday, mate.
From us, come on, you irons. Yeah, he's holding. Yeah, very good. He's holding. I'll do it. Go on. I've got one, and then you've got the other. That's facing the wrong way. There we go. Come on, you irons, and we will see you soon right here on West Ham Unofficial. Thank you very much, and bye bye.